Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. As we enter into another Black History Month, there is still, for me, no shock nor surprise of what we are going to see. This is why many years ago I did a video called Say No to Black History. I remember when I first posted the video, a lot of people were thrown off by the title. But as they listened to what was being said in the video, they understood where I was coming from. The video was basically sarcasm, okay? It was basically sarcasm, and you, after listening to it, can pick it up very well, the point that I was trying to drive home, okay? Now, the reason I'm mentioning that particular video, when you get a chance, you can look it up. It's probably maybe between 8, 9, or 10 years old, but it's on this channel here. But I'm doing that. I'm sharing that video because this video that I'm talking about is how we continue to be disrespected on what they call Black History Month. First of all, I do believe that Black History Month is laughable because world history is Black history. And that is scientifically proven. Everyone knows that the first man and woman were so-called Black people. Now, I'm not here to argue that point. We did a lot of information. We put a lot of information out there in the Whited Out series. Those of you who have not seen that documentary series, it is on the Watchmen Reports channel. And in that, we've shown how when you go from region to region, country to country, continent to continent, how the indigenous populations have been whited out by a process of blanqueamiento. That's where European males will come into a region, drop their seed into the dark indigenous women and produce a lighter offspring. Okay. Now, this particular video, let me just get to it. Michigan State University is apologizing for a display showing prominent Black figures hanging from a tree. Now, included in some of those figures were the Obamas, Harriet Tubman, and other Black people. Okay. Now, the display was supposed to be something to commemorate Black History Month, but instead it came off as very offensive to a lot of people. I mean, a tree and Black people hanging from the tree. Now, I don't know if this was intentional, but I do know that the display just looks very suspect. Okay, it looks very suspect. Now, I did say that there are about 4 or 5 similar trees throughout the shop, and while there were a few white figurines, the majority were Black. So very interesting. Just a few white and the majority Black. And so that sends a message to some of us who know history, how many times throughout history you would see where certain events would take place where a lot of Black people would lose their lives, and there may be 1 or 2 whites in there who were actually standing up for the Black people, or just kind of got caught up in the crossfire, if you know what I mean. But anyway, these are the types of things that we continue to see. For me, this video is just a nudge to those of you who are asleep. As I listen to some of my people speaking on various issues that happen throughout the world, it is very clear that the majority are still asleep, very clueless. And even those who have their eyes open to some things that we see and some things that are talked about, it's still one of those things where they're like, big deal. Let's not focus on that. Now, for me, it's not that we're focusing on it. My job and the job of many others is to wake up the sleepers, not to this type of behavior, because we can all see it. But if you notice, many times that I speak on my channel on various issues. I'm speaking about a lot of Black issues, and I'm trying to point out to my people that there is a reason why we have been subjected to this type of behavior. And some of you don't want to believe it nor accept it, that this was prophesied and that everyone is living basically on a timeline where they already have assigned parts that they play. And so when we get this type of behavior year after year, decade after decade, century after century, you have to understand that there's a reason why these things are happening. You see, all of the attitudes and the spirits and all of these things are deeply embedded in every group. So this is why you'll see a lot of so-called white people who behave a certain way towards others. This is why you'll see a lot of so-called Black people who behave a certain way, people who have never crossed paths. You see, never crossed paths, but you'll say, why is it that this group of Black people over here act the exact same way that this group of people act hundreds of miles away? Same with white people. Why is it that these groups right here, and I'm talking about even before television and radio, how is it that we have these overlapping attributes that stay within a certain racial group? That's because there's a very, very deep and telling story to all of this for those of you who know how to connect to the truth. It was all prophesied. And so when we see these types of behaviors come forward and either they apologize for it or they're embarrassed by it, you have to understand that it's deeply embedded, and sometimes they don't even know why it's there. And when they shake themselves and they look and they say, why did we do that? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? You see? And then some of them will say, well, hey, it is what it is, you know? But anyway, I just wanted to point this out, this story. No shock or surprise here. It is just a nudge to those of you who just can't believe these things are still happening. And you're always questioning, why are these things still happening in the year 2020? Well, I just gave you a very good explanation. When you get a chance, do look at the Whited Out documentary series on the Watch Me Reports channel. That's going to give you a lot of background history on what is taking place between the races. With that, I will say hello. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.